Welcome to the Tay and Todd Washington Commanders podcast. This is your co-host Tay and Todd, brought to you by Fansided. And Todd, we are gearing up for mini camp, and we're going to talk about the quarterback a little bit, not the one that you all expecting, the best round rookie, Sam Howell ever drafted, as you saw in the other podcast. But this week we'll be talking about the quiet Carson Wentz. We haven't heard much about him the past since the trade. He's been quiet. He's been rolling on higher ground ever since Jim Irsay would say something. And Todd, we're gearing up for minicamp and OTAs. And how you feeling?
I am feeling good. It feels like we kind of talked about last season. The offseason feels like it's going fast. It's May 5th, so May, June, July. We've got, a little under 3 months until like training camp is starting. And so it's going by pretty fast. We'll get a little bit of something from, OTAs, mini camps and stuff, get to see the helmets in action. Maybe, I don't know what the practice uniforms look like, but the stuff that we OSS fans crave. On a technical note, we are live for the first time ever, Tay, and it's really more of a logistical thing. Like it's not like by all means join us and watch and comment and whatnot, but it's really more to make the process easier for putting our videos on YouTube. We're trying it out for the first time today, so I don't know if anyone's going to hop in because it is 3:00 in the afternoon. I imagine people are working, so we're kind of just like recording it for YouTube but doing it live, right? That's kind of how we're doing it. And I say that to mean that there being no people in here does not offend us, because we would just be doing this in private right now.
Exactly.
And again, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. If you are live right now, I'm not going to be watching. Right. So, but we're trying something new, make this easier, and then maybe sometimes we'll go live intentionally and stuff. But yeah, Tay, how are you feeling with the draft fully wrapped up, and knowing what we know about the draft picks now?
I'm feeling good. I'm very excited. We got the rookie mini camp starting today, May 5th. I think that's just the players getting in town, and see tomorrow hopefully some practices with the 6th and the Friday and Saturday. So I'm looking forward to the rookie mini camp. I'm liking the haul that we were able to get this past weekend. Each day it gets better and better for me. Just looking at the players, a plethora of weapons that Carson has to roll with, the backup quarterback, and the interviews with Ron Rivera. They have been very good, very telling as well. So I'm feeling good. I'm ready for season to start. I'm just super duper excited. And like Todd said, this is our first time going live. So if you tune in, cool. If not, we just be doing this regularly. If you have comments, that's cool too. We'll try to get to them. Like I said, this is our first time, so we're excited. And for logistics, just trying to get things on the road. But yeah, man, I'm ready to roll, man. I'm looking forward to the season, ready for the draft that is over. I'm ready for rookie mini camp. I'm ready to see the jerseys, what practice jerseys they wear. I'm ready to see if the helmets will be on full display this weekend. Who knows?
Right. And yeah, speaking to that whole live thing, if there's some clarity or buffering issues, there was just now. So again, trying this out, we're gonna have some technical things. So today, Tay, we're gonna talk about the quarterback, but not Sam Howell. We're gonna talk about QB1 Carson Wentz, right? Because we haven't really talked about him since after they made the trade to get him. You always have that immediate initial burst of emotional reaction and response, and then as time goes on, you kind of get more clarity. So I guess I don't really want to talk about how we feel about the trade. I really I think we just want to talk about what expectations are and should be for Wentz this season and how much of a difference he can make on offense for this team, this offense that scored 19.7 points a game last year. Longest play through the air was some 46 or 50 yards, came late in the season. Just severely lacking explosiveness, right? The second highest receiving leader after Terry McLaurin had 300 or less than 300 yards, and Adam Humphries. Just an anemic offense, right? With the occasional Terry McLaurin highlight. But that wasn't the plan. Heineke wasn't supposed to be your starter. And now you have Carson Wentz, who some people would suggest if they look at the numbers, and some people look at those numbers and those raw numbers, and they dig super, super deep for numbers and say, well, their numbers are similar. Yeah, but watch the games, right? So we know that there will be a difference. I guess my first thought is, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a difference do you think, regardless of wins, losses, or anything like that sort of thing, how big of a difference do you think Carson Wentz will make for this offense in terms of explosiveness on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not a huge difference and 10 being a massive difference?
Well, I'm going to say 10, massive difference, because you get a guy who's limited in Taylor Heineke. Essentially, we played all of last year with our backup quarterback, if you want to put things into full picture. His arm was limited. I won't say he never overthrew anybody, but he underthrew Terry multiple times, De'Ami Brown, and he was good in that sweet spot, that middle two. I did love the fact that he was able to get the ball over the linebackers. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, with that touch to the second level.
About Heineke was that the fact he could get it to that second level, but anything after that, we were very limited. So the fact is, I say a 10, massive, because Carson Wentz 6'5", 225, has a rocket, can throw the ball 70 yards down the field. You have to respect that now. You can't just sit on Terry knowing that the ball won't go past 40 yards, And then on top of that, the weapons that he has, I think this is the most weapons he's had ever. I mean, he had good running backs in Indianapolis, and then he had Deshaun and Alshon Jeffrey there, and Zach Ertz, and he had Dallas Goedert his rookie year, I want to say.
I think so. Yeah. He had Dallas Goedert in, I think, 2019, that first game, right? At least.
Yeah, he did have Goedert. So this is the most weapons he's had in a long, long time in his career. So I mean, you think of the aspect of Gibby now losing some weight. Apparently, he's lost about 10 pounds. You got Robinson, who can take on a workhorse role. You got McKissick. You got all these gadgets, these position flex players. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to say a level 10 because of the different elements he can bring as being 6'5", can look over the line of scrimmage, doesn't have to be short like Heineke back there. And I'm excited. I'm going to give it a 10 for sure.
Yeah, so the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how significant of a difference will Carson Wentz make for this offense, in the passing game especially? Tyler C., thanks for checking in. We are live. we're trying things differently, so we appreciate you checking in. Rather than recording and editing it and posting it, we're going live so we can just be on YouTube, and it'll be a lot less work. So we're trying something out, working out the technical stuff. Thank you for checking in. I'm going to say a 7. I'll say a 7 in terms of how significant I think the difference will be. You talked about going downfield. Now, I think going downfield is a major component. They really didn't take shots down the field until they got past the 50 to about the 40. That was when you look at all those, the touchdowns that Terry McLaurin scored on downfield plays, and they weren't on the other team's 20 or 30. They were, once you got to that 50-40, that's where you saw those plays. There were a number of situations where you go back and the way that these routes can develop, say if you have a crossing route and a post route where, the safety is beat. If the safety is in his back pedal and he is 5 yards from the receiver and the receiver is running full speed on a post route, that's safety. And assuming the receiver, has good position on the cornerback, that safety is beat. That's a potential long ball. Tweeted one out of De'Ami Brown. I think I think it was week 3 against the Bills, where go play action, you come back, you take a hitch, and you throw that ball down the field because that safety is beat. The receiver hasn't passed the safety yet, but he's beat if you throw that ball. Heineke can't make that throw. That's a 55, 60, 65-yard throw. He throws that ball, it's underground, it's underthrown. The safety's probably going to catch it. Well, not only is Carson Wentz has the physical ability to make that throw, mentally, he likes to attack downfield. Right. So I'm going to say an 8 actually on the difference, because you've got the mentality difference, but then you've got the physical difference why it was tough for a guy like De'Ami Brown his rookie year to make an impact, because the strength of his game was supposed to be downfield. Right. And that's, Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't your first choice, but he was just a sling it guy and had an arm to do that. And then you end up with Heineke, who can make those touch throws, who can escape and make stuff happen with his legs. But when I need a ball shot 55, 60, 75, 70 yards, not 75, but 55, 60, 65 yards down the field, that whole element of the offense did not exist, Tate. They didn't have a 60, 70, 80, 90-yard touchdown last year. Right. And so I think I would say an 8 in terms of difference. The other difference is throwing to the perimeter and just, throwing darts from the far hash to the other sideline outside the numbers, right? Heineke, you saw sometimes those throws got there, but they're supposed to be there earlier. Right. Maybe they got there just in time. Sometimes they were late. He didn't really have an issue getting intercepted, but against the Saints game they went for a 4th down, that one play to Terry McLaurin. You remember that one? And it was that situation, but the ball just didn't have the zip that you want. So I think that's going to make a huge difference, is really just that ability, not only to push the ball vertically down the field, but to push the ball horizontally outside the numbers. So yeah, I'd probably say an 8. The thing about it is one thing that really surprised me on Carson Wentz when I look back at his numbers is that he's not really a 4,000-yard passer. He has done it one time, I believe. Let me pull it up. One time, but and he's been on track to do it. But I think the difference between Wentz and Heineke is Wentz is a lower completion percentage guy, a lower yards per attempt guy. So I don't know if the yardage totals are going to look crazy different, although I hope that they would, because of the fact that, if the numbers don't look different, then that means you're probably not seeing a significant difference in terms of performance. But we saw last year 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. He doesn't really turn the ball over, where Heineke threw 15 picks. That's a huge one, Tate. That's a huge one where I think that can be a huge difference. Do you think that 27-7, that type of gap, that type of disparity, that number of touchdowns we haven't seen since Kirk Cousins should be expected? Like, is that reasonable to expect, or is that kind of getting excited?
No, I think it is. I mean, it aligns with what he's done in his past. I think with Carson, I think he'll have more picks this year. Yeah. And I don't think that'll be necessarily a problem. I think they're going to push it. They're going to sling the ball around. Right. So, I think 27-10, 30-10, something around that, hopefully. I just think it's so much big play potential. I mean, he was throwing Paris Campbell into the end zone.
That's what I was going to say. So and Jack Pascal
Dotson and Terry and De'Ami should be getting plenty of opportunity. Even Curtis Samuel. I mean, so I'm interested to see how this works. Yeah, I agree, Lance. I think the 6 inches plays huge more advantage.
And I think to that point that Lance made also, sometimes that height you can't tell because it doesn't always turn into an interception, a fumble, a bad play. But sometimes it's those scrambles. Sometimes it's that guy that was open. He was clearing a linebacker. He's entering an open area, but you missed it by just enough of a half a second, and you didn't make that throw. And then you run and you get 7 yards. It's okay. It's a positive play, but it should have been a 20-yard play. Plus, that's a good point.
Or a situation like a DeMarcus Lawrence this past year where he tips it up, or Randy Gregory.
It was Randy Gregory. Yep.
So I think his big stature is going to play a huge event, a huge success in what we're doing, and and he can actually be mobile as well. The man can move.
He
So
can't
I
move
think he
still.
runs with purpose. I like his
Yeah.
escapability. I like the fact that he can create off schedule. I love that about Wentz. Even in Philly, he was able to do that, and he even did some with the Colts for the most part.
Yeah,
So
he
I
did,
think
even
that
with
that's
a
all
couple
he.
sprained ankles.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, and he had no offseason last year. I mean, he was
Right.
hurt, and he,
Right.
he came in and he still had 27-7. So just imagine that's what I love about Wentz is this year you haven't heard a peep out of him. You haven't heard
Right.
a peep, and that's
Right.
what I love about it. He just showed. I mean, he's like, look, I mean, I'm gonna work, and
Yeah.
he has all the tools. I mean, can you imagine coming into an offense and just looking around and like, oh my goodness, like I have everything to succeed.
Right.
It's gonna be interesting to see. I think he
Yeah.
elevates it. I give it a 10 in that aspect because I, I mean I just envision the offense being so much more explosive. He opens up an
Right.
element to the game that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Um, I
And
mean, ever. I mean, even Kirk didn't really. I mean, Kirk could
Kirk could
throw.
push it down the field, especially because of the scheme and
Right,
Deshaun. He definitely didn't have the arm
right,
that Wentz had, but he also had a better arm than Heineke. The
exactly.
thing, the thing about it too with Heineke is that typically, when a backup quarterback comes in, and as fans, we're used to like really bad quarterbacking, and Taylor Heineke was not horrible.
Hmm.
Like just objectively speaking, he was not terrible.
Hmm.
He wasn't. I'm trying to think of someone because there's one player who didn't play too well, but I don't want to talk about him out of respect.
Yeah.
So I'll say the last terrible quarterback who started some games for them. I mean, let's say let's say Garrett Gilbert this past year, who like clearly was not capable of playing, that situation, or like Taylor Heineke was not horrible, but however not horrible he was like a 28-32 quarterback,
Right.
you know, and they managed to win 7 games somehow while playing the 4th toughest schedule in the league, which kind of brings me to this comment from Mega 412, where as fans, you lose, you don't win, you don't make the playoffs. That's unacceptable. The goal is obviously higher. But when I consider objectively, you had Taylor Heineke, and thank you for the comment, starting unexpectedly, and he was not horrible, but he was not good. He was giving you 28-30 level NFL quarterback play in terms of, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That's almost that's close to a 1-to-1 ratio, right?
Hmm.
Every touchdown is almost negated by an interception. He started 15 games and threw an interception on average 1 per game. He threw for what was it, 3,200 yards? Teams don't win with their backup quarterbacks, and especially when you're playing one of the toughest schedules in the season. Then you go to this season, you have Carson Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz last season was probably more of a 16-20 quarterback, right?
Hmm.
Because he definitely did have his off games. But there was a stretch where he was on fire. I think he was 15-2 touchdown interceptions, and then 18 from about week 3 to week 12 or 13. He was not turning the ball over a lot. He wasn't playing like MVP level, but he was better than Heineke. If you get that level of play, Tate, I don't see why, considering the schedule is also just objectively, you're not playing most of the quarterbacks you played last year. I don't see why 9 wins shouldn't absolutely be to me. Last year, I'm not surprised they got 7, but this year, if they don't get to 9, I will be very surprised
Hmm.
because Carson Wentz should be worth at least 2 additional wins, in my opinion,
Right.
considering the schedule change, considering the weapons improvement. And this is a question that Zach, shout out to Zach, with the addition of Wentz, Norwell, Turner, healthy Samuel, not much turnover on defense. And on the defense, the biggest help will be the schedule that you're playing. I mean, you play the Bears, you play the Texans, you play the Lions. How many more wins do you expect? Let's frame this around Wentz more than anything. How many more wins do you expect based solely on Wentz now being the starting quarterback?
I think
How
you
many
got to
more
give
wins?
him. I think you got to give him personally
Mm-hmm.
three more wins. So I'm looking at 10 wins in total. Nothing with a potential of 12. I think they're in that 10 to 12, that 9 to 12 range. I believe.
Yeah,
We believe.
yeah. So let me ask you, how many wins would you expect if Aaron Rodgers was coming?
About the same.
Okay. If Rodgers was here, I'd say at least 11. I would say
Yeah.
11 to kind of like 13. With
All
Wentz,
right.
it's like 9 to 11 for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I guess expectations wise, I think those are realistic. I think that thinking that Wentz will come in and the offense just won't improve significantly, and that they'll go from scoring 19.7 points to scoring 21.6 points, and the defense continues to struggle and they'll be just as bad. Just on paper, they absolutely the expectations they make those are logical expectations to me. I don't think that anybody, fans or otherwise, is being like a homer or being too optimistic. On top of the fact that Greg Rosenthal tweeted it out, and Greg Rosenthal is not my favorite NFL analyst, for a number of reasons that I won't get into. But he said a lukewarm take is that this current Commanders' offensive weapons may be the best Wentz has ever had, better than what he had in the Colts. I don't think that's a hot take at all, Tay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's 100% true. He had Michael Pittman, who was solid, but then he's throwing to Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell. Who's their other third receiver? I can't remember. I'll pull it up. But if Dotson, is even a decent rookie receiver, if Samuel is healthy, combined with Terry McLaurin, Carson Wentz should be able to have one of his better seasons for sure.
Which, if that's the case, and I mean, he went 15-2 with that supporting cast of 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with Michael Pittman Jr., Ty Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, that's right. T.Y. Hilton, yes.
Zach Pascal, Mo Alley-Cox, and then obviously you had the threat of Jonathan Taylor and
the running game.
Yeah, the running game. So
and they have Nyheim Hines, who was a very good receiving back. Well, the Commanders have J.D. McKissic as well.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I think we'll see a whole different offense this year.
Yeah.
I think we'll see an offense that we've never seen, not in the sense of, greatest show on turf, but
right.
From the past couple of years, I think we'll see a whole new offense, more shots being taken.
And
my thing is this. You said you think he'll have a better year, one of his better years?
Assuming with all the assumptions of health and immediate contribution.
That's low-key MVP level. I mean,
I don't know.
27-7. I mean, if you're saying that, I mean, look, 27-7. Let's say he goes 30-10. I mean, and he leads his team. I mean, he has some yards on the ground. What's a good number for him rushing? I'm just curious.
Man, that's
400, 300.
What's a good, or like what would I expect? I'd probably expect like 200, honestly.
200, okay.
Yeah. I would say 200 with like 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Because that mobility is still there. He's definitely not fast, but he kind of, I don't know, he just finds ways to get yards.
Yeah.
And can make people miss, make the first guy miss kind of. It's weird. It doesn't really make sense. But every time Rivera talks about it, and you talked about the offense and something we haven't seen in years, he always talks about a guy who could push the ball down the field, a guy who could push the ball downfield. And I
think they're going to be all gas this year, like right out the gate.
I agree.
I think they're going to push the mess out of the football.
I think so too, Tay. I mean, you look at it, Dwayne Haskins, he had the arm strength for days. He could push the ball down the field. Physically, there was not a lot of talent on the team when he started.
Right.
And obviously there were other factors in terms of how he played. Then you went to Kyle Allen, he got hurt. So then you're stuck with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was like Heineke, but not mobile and safer with the football, kind of, right? That was not what they wanted or planned for at all. Then you go Fitzpatrick. All right, we want to push the ball down the field. And he gets hurt, and you end up with Heineke. And that's not what they wanted at all. Mm-hmm. And now they're going Wentz because all along, Tay, they have been showing that they want to push the ball down the field. They drafted De'Ami Brown to push the ball down the field. They've added speed to push the ball down the field. They just haven't had a quarterback to push the ball down the field. And so, I really don't think that Wentz will be. Well, let's say, sure, there's a slight possibility he can be your quarterback in the future, but I think there's also a stronger possibility that he's not. But just strictly in terms of this season, take the future out of it past this season, strictly this season, I think it's very possible that the offense goes from scoring 19.7 to 24, 25 plus points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to. If they can go from scoring just under 20 to scoring in the 25 range points a game, then you're getting to 9 to 10 wins, because your defense is not going to give up more than 25 points a game this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will put money on that tape.
Yeah.
So, and if they, with the weapons that they've added, I wouldn't expect much more if Heineke was still your starter. I'd say, okay, maybe they get to 21, But with Wentz, that offense with Jonathan Taylor was scoring almost 27 a game. I think that the Commanders here, I think they can get closer to that. On top of the fact, I think, and I'm thinking this, and appreciate everyone checking in. This is pretty cool. For everyone who joined lately, we're doing this, trying it out, because it's easier technically for us to do this instead of record, then edit it, and then post it. And it's going well. Appreciate all the comments. Thanks everyone for checking in. But I think that oh man, I lost my train of thought. Darn it. Wentz pushing the ball down the field. I guess they're going to push the ball down the field a lot more. Here's what I was going to say. The Colts kind of hamstrung him. They kind of handcuffed him a bit, where they wanted him to be the game manager to a rushing offense. And while I believe that Rivera and Scott Turner want to be able to run the ball, I don't think they envision being a run-first offense. Mm-hmm. I think that what they want, and I've said this before, I know this is what I want, and I do think this is what they want. They want to be able to score through the air and close out the game on the ground. Mm-hmm. It just, it makes sense from what they're doing and how they're building the roster. And so I don't think that you do that with Wentz. I think Wentz, it's all or nothing. Give us everything you got. You're not a game manager. Wentz is not a game manager. Mm-hmm. Like Heineke, Alex Smith, those guys are game managers. Wentz is a win it for you, lose it for you guy. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to let him play. The run game is going to complement him. Mm-hmm. And just please don't make any dumb mistakes, right? Or if you make a dumb mistake, make up for it. That's what I think. Right, which he will. But wait, make the dumb mistake or make up for it?
Both.
Okay, right. Yeah. Right, exactly. But I think that could be a big difference mentality-wise, that could potentially make this a better marriage, possibly. Is, hey, we don't want you to come in here and manage the game. We want you to come in here and throw it down the field and attack, and let's score some points. And then we'll throw in Antonio Gibson, but really we're probably throwing Brian Robinson to close this thing out. And then the other thing is we want teams to be forced to pass at the end of the game. That's where Montez Sweat, Chase Young come in. This defensive line was playing from behind most of last year, and you want your defensive line playing from ahead. So the goal, add Wentz, score through the air, close out the games offensively on the ground, defensively with your pass rush. If they can get to that system, that's when they are potentially a good team, a playoff team that could make some noise. Hopefully that's this year.
Yeah, and I think Wentz has a huge chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to be out. I think he's going to be out for blood. I think he's going to
for sure
sweep the AFC South. I think he's going to want to sweep the NFC East this year.
AFC South, Texans, Titans,
Colts,
I
know he's going to want that Jaguars game. I could just see it. But
that's right. Yeah.
Mag24 posted something. People need to show Ron love. I just want to hit on that for a little bit, because I totally agree. Ron, he said in Carolina, his team got old very quickly.
Yeah.
And if you look at the makeup of this roster, I'm just looking at it in a Madden sense. I like to play Madden a lot, but you have so many blocks where you can develop success, where you don't even need to add anything pretty much. You just develop each guy. And that's one thing I love about Ron is we have a young team. And Todd, you hit on this the other day, talking about how Ron is not scared to play rookies, and because of that, we have a Cam Curl, and we have different type of guys who are stepping in. And
Gibson was your starting running back week 1.
He
never played it. Yeah,
and that's huge.
Cosme against Joey Bosa.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
St. Juice. Yeah. Go ahead.
Like, now, that's how you sustain. Ron's not into winning, going to the playoffs for 1 year, and just having fun.
Right.
He wants to sustain success. Like, I want a contender, however long that takes to be year in, when the Commanders are going to the playoffs and they're competing like a Packers team or like a Bucks. Like that's what I want. I want consistent success.
Right. No, I agree. I think you can tell the roster is being built, but because they have not been in position to draft that quarterback or passed up on that in 2020 with going Chase Young instead of Herbert or Tua. I don't think Tua would have been your guy. Herbert, of course. That's been the big thing, I think, really. I mean, Ron Rivera started, 8 quarterbacks in the 2 years he's been here, right? Yeah. You went Alex Smith. No, you went Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke, and then you went Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Garrett Gilbert. So seven quarterbacks for year one that started 3. And that's where the credit comes in my book, because you won 7 games while that was happening, and that's not normal.
Exactly.
That's not typically. So I give him credit. The team has managed to find ways to win despite having really what is the worst quarterback situation in the league today.
Right.
If you really look around the league, it's the worst one. This is an interesting thought here, because I know we're talking about Wentz, but what about using Howell like Taysom Hill? Honestly, I don't know if they'll do it, but when you look at the players, I kind of see that, like early on, like how the way he runs is the way Taysom Hill runs. Like it's very physically. But Howell is undoubtedly a better thrower than Taysom Hill. 100%.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. I'll be very Anthony Smith. Thank you for tuning in. If we see Howell out there for like a read option rep, your zone read for a couple reps, I'm definitely going to remember this comment, because that's the first time I've seen anyone say that. You know, Scott Turner can get a little crazy, and I mean, Howell can throw the ball, and you know, he can run. He can run better than Wentz can. You know, so that's an interesting comment.
Yeah. The big thing with him is just getting active on game day. I don't know if they're going to let him be active. I think they're going to go 2 QBs for the most part. But if he can get active, I mean, I could see him doing some. I could see Scott Turner getting in his bag for real.
Yeah, for sure. Because Scott Turner has not been able to really. I'm sure he just has not been able to call games the way that he plans to at the start of the season.
Right.
And that's why, you know, you really can't judge Scott Turner 7 different quarterbacks and like 12 quarterback switches, right? It is one thing playing with different players. It's a whole nother thing going from this quarterback to this quarterback, back to this quarterback, then to this quarterback, then to that quarterback, then back to that quarterback. Because then every time you're switching the way you have to call the game, because you're not calling the same game for Wentz that you're calling for Heineke, right? So that's huge. I would love to see Wentz have really his best statistical year in terms of passing yards. The reason why Wentz is not a big yardage guy is not it's not even because of injuries and stuff like that. It's because he's not a high completion percentage guy, and he's not a high yards per attempt guy. He is more of and I'll pull it up here. Let me go career. And let me put it on the screen real quick. Let me share screen. Oh, 1 sec. Let me do this. Okay. So let me just pull it up, show you kind of what I'm talking about quickly. Wentz tends to be more of a here we go. It's coming. His completion percentage tends to be more of a 65% or lower, and yards per attempt tends to be, there you go. You see it? Yeah. Yards per attempt tends to be, let me scroll down on that. Sorry. So, all right, here. Carson Wentz stats. Pull up the first page again. Here we go. So you look at it, yards per attempt, 6.2, 7.5, 7.7, 6.7, 6.0, 6.9. Completion percentage, 62, 60, 69, his best one, 63, 57, and then 62. And then I thought it was his attempts, but it's not. If you were to go look at a Drew Brees season where he threw the ball 600 times, he's going to have like 5,000 yards because his completion percentage is going to be like 70. His yards per attempt is going to be like 7.9 or 8.
Right.
I'm hoping this season, 2018 was actually his best, where he was 69.6. His yards per attempt were 7.7. 2018 was when he came back from injury. The Eagles weren't that good that year. They went 5-6. But statistically, if Wentz could put up numbers more like this, 69.6 completion percentage, yards per attempt. Basically, if completion percentage can be like 67 at least, yards per attempt 7.5 at least, that's where I think you could see the 4,000, 4,500 yard season if he's getting those attempts and staying healthy. And that's what I'm hoping we see from Wentz this season. That is an expectation I'm not going to set, but I was surprised to see he's been really a sub 4,000 yard passer his entire career, considering that he can, really throw the ball.
It's crazy. He's thrown under 10 interceptions for four out of those years.
It is that is crazy. That's highly impressive. And great point was made by Mark Tyler from Hogshaven on Twitter that he has not missed a game due to injury since 2018 when he injured his back. 2019 played the full season, put the team on his back really. 2020 got benched because he really just was not playing well. The Eagles weren't very good also. And then last season played all season, right? Had some injuries, but had an injury in camp, missed camp, played week 2, sprained both ankles, still played. So that's encouraging because we did think Taylor Heineke was injury prone, and then he went and went the whole season, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first step is can we just get a quarterback to play the whole season? Got that in Heineke for almost completely. So can we get that from Wentz? Do you want to? I've got to wrap it up in maybe about 4 or 5 minutes. Do you want to look at some of these comments and just comment on some of these?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Comp for Howell was Russ, passing and play style Tebow. Similar size in terms of Russ. Yeah, got the arm strength and the mobility. And the running style is not like Russ. Russ is almost more like a Kyler-ish. He's not as shifty, but quicker, legs moving like this. Howell is a strider who's not fast, but is physical, and who will not protect himself in the league. But thanks for the comment. And hopefully he can manage to stay healthy whenever he does get out there, not take too many crazy hits. Hard to average a high yards per attempt when he's had garbage talent around him. Talking about Wentz. He should have one of the best supporting casts he's had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a good point because a lot the yards per attempt, we're not talking air yards per attempt. We're just talking about yards. So yak comes into play there.
Right.
So if you can get those yards after the catch, that would help that.
That'd be huge. That'd be
huge. Here's one. You can hit this one, Tay.
Does Sam being a quiet QB leader concern anyone? I wouldn't necessarily say he's quiet. I think he's very. I think all his receivers liked him. All his running backs liked him. I mean, if you look throughout the draft process, there were many of his teammates coming out saying, how is he still on the board? This is blasphemy. So I don't think he's necessarily a quiet leader. And I don't know if you, Marcus, if you saw the video with Diami and him calling Sam right after he got drafted.
Yeah.
I think Sam is not going to want to step on toes as soon as he gets in. I think Sam is just in a spot where he's going to sit back and soak it all up. But I think he won't be quiet. I think he's going to be a guy he seems to me like a very what's the word I'm looking for?
Like likable, like compatible, like he gets along. I think he fits in well in the locker room, right? The way he code switched was kind of crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
The way he went from he was at his press conference like, I'm just, this is where I wanted to be. I'm so happy to be here, and so I'm ready to get to work. And he's talking to Diami. He's like, yeah, man. They done put the boys back together, man. Yeah. Hey, we up. Wait, I'm gonna hit you back, but we up though, yo. I was like, what? Is that the same person? So that does kind of Marcus. I think that he is not a rah-rah type, like a Ray Lewis or maybe Drew Brees doing the huddle type. But I'm not concerned because I do think he's a leader and haven't heard concerns about that. Thanks for the comment. We can hit this one last from Zach. And let me do this one real quick. Thank you, R5, for the support. We really do appreciate it. And I agree. Offensive line depth is really very good. I think you go from your starters to your backups, and there's not a huge drop off. So it's not a Hogs, fantastic line, but the depth is definitely great. This one from Zach. If the offense is getting you 24 to 27 a game, with extended drives, do you both feel like the defense inherently gets better because they're on the field less, et cetera? This is a great point, Tay, because I thought about this and I forgot. I didn't even think to, but think about how much the offense, aside from the turnover ratio, which was not good, but the struggling to move the ball, and then the defense is back out on the field. And the defense is spending more time on the field than they should be. And then the defense can't get off the field, so they can't get off the field. Like the more third downs you give up, the more third downs you give up. If the offense can, one, either score and just keep the other offense on their heels, or hold on to the ball because they're an efficient offense, I think that would help the defense. I think that the offense has the potential to help the defense a lot. Honestly, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think that's why the defense was so good with Alex Smith. Although they weren't scoring the points, they were sustaining
Yeah.
drives.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
sustaining drives. And if you look at
Yeah.
that 4-game, 5-game winning streak this year, I think it was 4 games.
4 games. Yep.
4-game winning streak this year. That's what they did, and the
Yeah.
defense played better towards the
Right.
back half of the season.
Right.
So yes, Zach, I agree. Shout out to Zach. Thanks for being with us, man. Appreciate you, bro. But the offense, I think that plays hand in hand, and hopefully that will, the beginning of the year we struggled with that and the defense slipped. But I think that Alex Smith year, although he wasn't putting up 24, 27 points a game, they were sustaining drives, and it was he was dinking and ducking, check down, but we were sustaining drives, and that win streak that same year happened to do with that as well. So yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're gonna check out now because I have to. I mean, this is honestly great. Tay, the reason no one was in early or when we first started was because I had it unlisted. It wasn't even public, so no one could see it. Again, we're working out the technical difficulties, which brings me to this comment. Have y'all not enabled super chats? Great question, DeAndre Taylor. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know what that is, so we'll figure out what super chats are, and then and then we'll enable it. I can ask Rhea. I'm sure Rhea knows what that is. Thanks for checking in. And then one last one, Ertz, who's his Wentz having tight ends as his best receiver also would drive down his YPA, which is a good point.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get the ball to those receivers more, that would help with that too. Tay, this has been a lot of fun. 50 people in at 3:00 in the afternoon. That's not bad for the late lunch, early dinner crowd.
Yeah.
So definitely the first time going live ever, the first ever Tan Todd live, almost 2 years to the date when we recorded our first podcast, which was early May 2020. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. StreamYard is pretty cool. Like it, getting a feel for it, figure out what else we can do. And right about now, we would be wrapping up, and then the video would process on Zoom. And then, once it's done processing on Zoom, I'd upload it to software and then edit it. And then it would take like 3 hours to process because the software, I don't know, it's just not a good software. And then I have to upload it. But I think once I hit end broadcast, we're going to be good to go. So that's going to be pretty cool. We'll see. Maybe I'll probably have to add a thumbnail and stuff. But this has been fun, Tay. We'll do this more often.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone, thank you for, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thanks again. Like I said, it's the first time, and we're excited. And we're definitely going to be doing these more often. So appreciate y'all showing love. And we'll get on that super chat soon. I keep seeing that stuff, but I don't know much about it. So
anything with super in front of it is better. So
I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll figure that out. All right, cool. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And then for those who watch it later, listen later, thank you for your support. We really appreciate. Definitely do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And check in next time, whenever that is. Maybe we'll actually give some notice or something. Should have drafted McBride at the 47th pick. We'll see. We'll see. That one, we'll see. This is Todd.
This is Tay.
We're out. Thanks.